and see what we can find out there. Just seeing what we're doing right now, see what we can. In 16 hours, okay, awesome. So we won't go that far then. We'll just go to Cadnua probably. Oh, Cadnua. 16 hours, that works.
Better indeed.
Seriously. There we go. I think one of the walls here. Just kind of get the walls done, taken care of first. That's my thinking, at least. Excuse me. Yeah, probably the wall. Nothing else seems to suit my fancy here. Let's see here. Ah, well, I did towers, but still, you know what I'm trying to get at. What's wrong? Make sure everybody's. Not what I was looking for. Okay, awesome. Let's explore this wooden plains. Wonder if we'll find that hunter. Okay, let's see what he's got. Well, let's go see. This will be interesting to role play. Interesting.
Looks a little healthier than before. um, hmm. But, I mean, it's not gonna matter. Hell yes, that's very generous of you. I got myself right off. I owe you one. Excuse me, that was funny.
It's not horrible though. We still got enough. Let me see what we got in for that. Let me see what we got for that. Can we? Yes, actually. That'd be helpful for our mage guy, probably. Or even our berserker, our barbarian. What is our barbarian wearing anyway? Oh, well. He's not a frontline fighter. He's a frontline fighter. Of will. That is helpful for him. Oh, it's a defense. I thought it was for attack. Okay. Yeah, we'll give it to him. Oops. Why did I do that? Immune to engagement. That's cool. That's gonna be real helpful for him. I know, I hear you. I hear you. She just wants attention. What? Does she have water? What? Okay. Probably wants that wet food.
The keep's coming along nicely.
I know, I see it. I gotta get to loading screen. Now she needs water too, looks like. Holy cow. Sorry. Shoot. Where's map? Map. Forest Looker. This should be fun. Okay. And pause. I'm gonna have everybody just go into attack. berserk mode, and everything's gonna go according to plan because there's only one of them.
No good.
Oh, knockdown. That's fine. Knocks down the fighter, not the barbarian. Okay. He lost. I didn't even see the skeletons. That would have been helpful. Yep, there's quite a few of them. I think we can take all of them but the pig will probably. You only got one, you're at one, you're there. Okay. Get back up. Get back up. Didn't want you to get that like that. That sucks. That sucks. Gosh dang it. I didn't meet. This range really sucks. I didn't know it'd be a horrible range like that.
Got him!
Have we not? No, I get you. That was right. Okay.
Damn good fighting to be had on your...
Better.
Lost another!
Just get quiet. We're losing, folks.
This was a wipe almost. We got it.
This isn't going.
Just fucking summon your skeletons already.
Stand.
That was quick. What was that? Oh, that's right. Nice. Think we should camp? Yeah, I think we should probably camp. I didn't know that had horrible range. I would never have done it. We would have been less boned then. Lion? Alrighty. Play it safe again. Gotta play it safe. helps. Thank you.
Hush,
Here's it.
Itumak.
Yay, the hunter.
Easy, Itumak. It's not him. Short version? I'm looking for a very, very old friend. I'm not sure what skin he's wearing now.
She stops sharpening her arrowhead and slowly folds her arms. That's an interesting question. The last couple of strangers only succeeded in lightening my purse. I think I handled it on my own. Your friend is supposed to be
That's
here.
what I heard. Of course, the man who told me so was carrying a staff he claimed was made from dragon bone, but I know whitewood when I see it. That should have been my first clue, but I had to try something. The long version. Here we go. I'm from an island to the far south called Nasitak. I came here looking for a village elder, a man we knew as Persok. I'm a hunter back home, so tracking someone wouldn't normally be a problem. But Persok's trail is cold, to say the least.
5 years. Her pain brows lower. He died when I was still a young girl. Forgot to mention that part, did I? I'm looking for his latest reincarnation, which could be anyone.
That about sums it up.
It must be an important duty.
So I keep reminding myself. Still, it would be nice if important duties came with clearer instructions.
She looks at the Adra figurine in the dirt. She dusts the figurine on her trousers, raises it in her small flat palm. It's carved in the shape of a bear, smooth and round. The polished Adra is worn into a dull mat along its arched back and ovoid haunches. A soft glow emanates from within.
Cute, isn't it? It belonged to Persok. Before he returned to the wheel, he left a splinter of his soul in it. Something to help us find him later.
As she holds it out to you, you feel wisps of sensation. Not quite memories, but traces of someone.
When I left Nasitak, it was completely dark inside. But as I've gotten closer to Persok, it's glowed steadily brighter. Since I've reached the Deerwood, however, it's gotten hard to read. Some days it flickers and goes dark. Others it shines nice and bright. For a few hours. But most of the time, it looks just like this.
I can take a look at
I've
it.
heard that one before. Whole reason I'm standing here is because some so-called watcher from Forkvale told me he could take a look. For a few golden dukes, of course. I was on my way out of the Balmarsh when I heard talk of a traveling mystic who could supposedly see souls. I knew it was a long shot, but what did I have to lose? I went to see this fellow and gave him the Audra figurine. He made a big show of moaning and rolling his eyes, and after I'd given him 5 golden dukes to lift the shroud, he told me to seek the crossroads in the field between the wolf's lair and the twining trees. He thought he was being vague, but I know the area well enough to recognize that he meant this place, right between Defiance Bay and Twin Elms. I had a bad taste in my mouth, but my coin was spent and I'd already left an arrow in his knapsack as a friendly warning. Told him I'd come back and leave him with another if it turned out he was giving me the runaround. I've been here a week now. Guess he had the last laugh after all. Why? You expect me to believe that? After the story I just told you? Fine. But if you try to run, just remember that my arrows are faster.
She hands you the figurine, her chapped knuckles grazing your hand. She watches you examine it, wary but curious. You raise the Adra bear, turning it in the light. As your eyes catch a tiny glinting scratch, the scenery around you melts away. You're sitting on a cliff overlooking the water, seeing through eyes that aren't your own. You catch the musk of beasts amidst the fresh scent of vegetation, and your heart beats a little faster. You have to watch your step up here. You look down just long enough to see the sharp, pale cliffs drop into the water hundreds of feet below you. Oh, not Matt. Questions are greeted with the shrugs and silence. I hate my perception level.
What are you talking about? What just happened?
Yeah. You seen the way she stares at that thing, you know she's serious.
You
Thanks.
realize I've got no coin to give you, even if I did believe you.
If I turn you into a summoner, we don't need him. That's true. Probably turn you into a summoner. Excuse me.
Safe travels.
We do need another ranged person anyway. Once a character has been dismissed from the party, they will return to either the Black Hound Inn, Gilda Vale, or to your stronghold if you've acquired it. Yep. They can also go on missions. Okay, so what are you good at? I should have asked that. Yeah, I should have asked that already. Might and perception. Might and perception, okay. And you're good at stealth. That's helpful. Have you low stealth and athletics? Trains rangers, animals, companion, and vicious tactics, causing to deal more damage and penetrate damage reduction with each hit. Not sure I want that because it looks like the animal companion was more dodgy. Better to be dodged. Yeah, there we go. The ranger's animal companion gains improved damage reduction against all damage types. That'd be good. Ranger's animal companion gains improved defenses against charm, confuse, and dominated afflictions. That'd be helpful. I'm gonna do resilient. Vicious aim. By lowering attack and reload rate, the ranger is able to take more careful aim, giving them increased accuracy and damage. I don't know. Heightens predatory instincts if the ranger's animal companion, giving them a damage bonus on each creature suffering damage over time effect. When we get a cipher, that'd be helpful. Designates a single target as prey, giving the ranger and animal companion a damage bonus against the target. That's cool. Self, though. That's not too bad. The ranger gets into speed and fluid offensive rhythm, reducing accuracy but increasing fire rate and reload time with range weapons and attack rate with melee weapons. I do like that, but yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Swift. No, that's right. I keep forgetting about that. We'll see. Oh, hey. That is good. It's a -12, I guess. Let's see here. see, what do these do here? I think we'll do that swift and steady because that looks pretty neat. Sagani drives up beside you, her fox falling at her heels, and takes a seat next to you.
Even if you are putting one over on me, it's nice to have a hunting party again. 5 years for me. Must be 30-something for Ichimok. It certainly started out that way.
Oh.
It's been a long hunt. A long time away from my family. Before, I'd crossed the tundra of Nasitok following caribou herds. I didn't want to leave Kalu and our children, but I was eager to visit lands my people rarely do. But 5 years without finding him. It's like 2 hours of necking. I'm ready to be done with it. Soul recovery is an old village tradition. We call it the Tarnek Ilitsak. Once in a generation, we seek the soul of a much respected and long dead village elder. We tell him what's changed in the village, how people remember him. The only other Tarnek Ilitsak during my lifetime happened when I was a girl, not long after Persak died. We feasted on blubber and fermented milk for a week, and we honored the chosen huntress as a hero. Then she left, and we returned to our duties. We still sang her name to the skies during festival season, but we otherwise didn't speak of her.
You're kind to say so, but I'm just not so fragile that I need my name chanted in the meeting halls.
It's not being forgotten by my village that troubles me. But sometimes I wonder how my husband and children remember me, if they think of me often.
Both practical and true.
Still, there's no point in dwelling on it. More often I find myself wondering whether Persak will remember. You claim to see souls. What do you think? Do you remember your past lives?
Really? What's that like? I don't envy you. Guess I'm lucky I only have to worry about someone else's past life.
Makes me wonder what Persak remembers about our village. Or if a turn at the wheel has yanked the details out of his mind like it does for most of us. Masuk is probably much the same as it was 100 years ago. We live between tundra and frozen forests, and the land takes as much as it gives. But our hardships bring us together. And the elders truly unite us. They keep the stories of past generations, and they guide us from season to season, through good years and lean.
Recently, there have been a lot of good years. My aunts say we've had fewer clashes with neighboring villages thanks to the hunting territories that Persak helped establish. In bad years, we rely on trade with the merchants that pass our shores. We exchange walrus tusks and seal pelts for grains that last us to hard winters. Persak brokered a lot of those agreements too. She holds up the bearer figurine. He got this from one of the Amawa ships that used to trade with us.
That's what I'm supposed to remind him.
Sounds like you're on a hunt of your own, though. You feeling the thrill of the chase, or ready for this to be over? Refreshing indeed. We've got darkness on our side. Shall we move on? Nasitok? She rubs her nose with her one-barred finger. It's a big island in the middle of the Deadfire Archipelago, just off the coast of the White That Winds tundra. Mostly with a few snow-covered forests in the warmer parts, most of us live in fairly small villages, by standards here anyway. Mine is Masuk. Cold, but not as cold as the White That Winds. The few kith who visit Nasitok find it sparse, but there's plenty to sustain a village if you know where to look. She ticks the items off with callous fingers. We've got hides and meat from caribou, seals, and small whales. Bone too, which makes fine bow and arrowheads. Community is important to us. We survive or perish together. So everything we do, every week-long hunt, every wall we build is for the village. Mostly Inatinic, like me. People here call us boreal dwarves. Migratory clans of Glamphilin from the White that Winds sometimes spend the colder seasons on Nasi Tak. We don't see too many other foreigners who can tolerate the elements. She pats a weather bronze arm. Those of us born in Nasi Tak like to say we have hardy layer of sealskin just beneath our flesh. We're a tundra village. To an outsider's eyes, we're probably not much different from the others around us, but our elders have stories that go back hundreds of years. Epic hunts, battles with neighboring villages, sojourns across the sea. We share these stories too. She nods. I'm a long hunter. I stalk game across the tundra with some of the other wives. We usually hunt caribou and oxen, but we find hares and birds too. It's a good and respected position to see so much of Nasi talking in the company of my friends and sisters. This is one of the pleasures of life in Masuk. He scratches behind his ear. A good hunter, but not much of a talker. That's been fine by me. When we hunt in Nasi talk, we almost always bring our foxes with us. They help us track and flush game. They are fearless defenders against bears and snow leopards. Clever Itumak has always been my favorite. He wags his brushy tail. Of course, we never send women who hasn't had a chance to find a mate and have a couple of children of her own. I've had 5. Yukona, Estuya, Nahuo, Anik, and Malak, or whatever. Estuya and Anik died young in long, lean winters. Malak was barely talking when I left. She scrapes the thumbnail along the handle of her hunting knife. You probably won't know me when I get home. She frowns, her hand falling from the knife. Even in Nasi talk, I spend most of my time on the hunt. But then it's easier to relish the hunt when I know I'll see my family enjoying our kill. Kalu's a good man. He's raised our children well, built us a strong home while I've been away on hunts. Our parents chose us for one another when we were so young. Not the way things are usually done here, but ours shows well. She smiles. We came to appreciate each other as helpmates at first, then friends, and then, well, you know how it goes. There's a hint of the blush below the sharp of the face paint. I'll tell you what I can but Tarnik Elite Sock pilgrimages like mine are rare. She pulls a bear figurine out of a satchel, running a finger along its smooth back. It's something we've always done. The elders say it was first begun to forge ties with other villages. Start to fight over caribou herds when you see someone you respect on the other side. We also believe that passing our history on in this way keeps us stronger and helps them, the elders I mean, return to us after they've been away from us for a generation or more. They can use the experiences they've accumulated over lifetimes to lead the village again. Most often they return somewhere in Nasi talk, a member of another village, or they're reborn among the Glamphilin of the White that Winds. Even so, it's hard to say what's usual. A mischievous grin crinkles her eyes. When my grandfather was a boy, the elder came back as a polar bear. The huntress chosen for the task had to recite half her village's deeds while running from the beast. Her expression sobers. Even so, there have been journeys longer than mine. Some last decades, and the huntress doesn't always return. That depends on the man or woman he's become. It's easiest when the rebirth happens in another village of Nasi Tak, where the tradition is understood. Even in the White that Winds, in the southern islands of the Deadfire Archipelago, people understand this custom and will welcome you politely enough, even if their souls do not remember. But sometimes you find someone whose soul has no memory of the village, and you have to tell them of the people who remember him still. As disheartening as this is, you hope that the reminder will aid his soul in the future life. Another old village tradition. The elders watch the caribou migrations and cast seal bones to determine the right time for this journey. When the omens were determined, all the village wives use shark teeth. We're the ones that go away to hunt and fish, or the best suited for the task like this. Anyway, I grabbed a little tooth. She frowns. Traveling so far is a rare privilege for us, but as you can see, the journey can be unpredictable. Helps to know what you're hunting. You've got a lot of tracks to follow, but where they'll lead is anyone's guess. Awesome. Let's save after all that. Oh, we gotta check your stuff. Yeah, we gotta check your stuff. Check your bow for one. It's your ranged person. Zagani's hunting bow is made from dual roll. In her home village, hunters pursue game both to kill and to subdue, often using blunt arrows to stun small quarry. These captured animals are sometimes raised or traded to other villages. As a result, Sagani's Masuk bow can fire arrows that do pierce or crush damage, but has slightly reduced range and damage. Oh. Well, shoot. Let's see if we have anything else for you. We do not. That's not cool. There's a fine one for you. We're gonna go back to that one person up here that had the soul to look at. As you near, you feel a vibrant history contained in the essence of this woman's soul. Voices from his past seem to call out to you. You see a group of robed figures sitting next to a fire. This woman, much younger and smaller, sits with them. They are discussing travel and making plans, deciding which road will get them to their destination fastest. A rustling noise catches the attention of several members of the group, and they stand, watching over the fire, straining against the darkness to see. An enormous shadowy figure makes its way into the camp, and the darkness slowly parts against the firelight to reveal who it is. Many members of the group stand, readying weapons. Others quietly invoke their god, preparing spells for battle. The girl looks around confused when a man sitting next to her stands, holding out his arms. He chastises the others in the group for not showing the proper hospitality to a stranger. The man walks toward the ogre, hand extended, speaking words of welcome in its own tongue. The ogre stares at the man for a brief moment, then with a swiftness seemingly unnatural for being of its size, it swings the club it had been dragging behind itself. It connects with the man's head, causing a wet, crushing sound. The woman to the girl's right screams and rushes to the man's side, covering half the distance before the man has even fallen to the ground. From the darkness all around the group, terrifying and blood-curdling shouts answer the screams of those in the camp as more figures approach through the darkness. Well, that stinks. Oh yeah, we gotta do that. Nope. Yes. Defensive primary. Now we gotta make you back to a summoner. Really? Okay, well, whatever. If you say so. Huh? Okay, our guy's defensive, so what is everybody else doing? What are you doing, dude? Why are you aggressive? Please don't be a pygmy, whatever that thing was. Thank you.
Wait, they see me. Yes, me too. Wait, they see yes, me.
Got him.
You are set to be summoned, right? Okay. Oh gosh. Everybody, major attack it.
Wait, they see yes, me too.
No. That. No.
Wine dregs swirl on the bottom of the clay jar. I think this. Yep, there. Yes. Please be on the force looker, at least a couple of them. Nope, no more pigs or whatever.
Wait, they see yes, me.
Okay, you can probably It's better than that. There you go.
Kinda stuck over here.
How are you stuck?
That's it.
He is stuck, isn't he? Oh, that's fun. Seriously. He'll be with us when we change maps, I'm sure. Oh my gosh, seriously. Oh my gosh. That's funny. That's funny. Are you freaking seriously? We did all that for nothing. That's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's a bug. Freaking seriously. Let me try it this way. See if a reload does anything. That's messed up. Stuck in a tree. Quite literally. Oh my gosh, are you freaking seriously kidding me? He is still stuck. Oh, well, there we go. Okay. We'll go here. Why not? We're actually trying to get to Deerwood Village, if you don't, Deerwood, whatever that place is over here, Defiance Bay. We're actually trying to get there. Let me see what my stronghold's at here. One hour. Okay, well, that's promising. As you near, you feel vibrant history containing the essence of this woman's soul. Voices from his past seem to call out to you. You see a lavishly decorated room, walls hung with tapestries, ornate oil lamps, creating a warm, relaxing atmosphere. There are several overstuffed couches covered with silk pillows and an elegant table in the middle of the floor. This woman is seated at the table, sitting across from another woman. They're both well dressed, their style befitting the room they're in. The other woman's hair is blonde, in stark contrast to this woman's black, and is swept upon her head in a dramatic style. The women speak in an easy, free tone, obviously familiar with one another. Though they each seem to be comfortable in the other's company, a strange nervousness surrounds the blonde woman's actions. She occasionally betrays herself with a little giggle or stammer, hitching over an easy word as she speaks. Her demeanor swings from friendly to shy and back again with no warning. This woman leans back a little in her chair, stretching lightly. As she finishes her stretch, she gently lays her hand next to the other woman's hand, letting their fingers steadily intertwine. The second woman stops speaking mid-sentence, inhales sharply, and turns red. She does not, however, move her hand. This woman smiles and moves her hand further over the other, holding it. She then stands, moving around the table toward the blonde woman, whose face shows conflicting emotions of terror and lust. She giggles and pulls a hand out from under the other and brings it to her mouth, the red of her face deepening. This woman stops, looking down at her, eyes sparkling. She reaches out and pulls something from the blonde's hair, letting it fall around her shoulders. And then she leans over, brushing her lips slightly over the blonde woman's cheek, resting her mouth against her ear. As she whispers, her hand moves lithely down the other woman's body to her waist. Blonde shudders and leans into the hand, eyes closing, cheeks pressing against the lips, still whispering at her ear. This woman's hands deftly removes a small bag from the other woman's belt and secrets it under her own cloak at the small of her back. Then she gently kisses the other woman's cheek and stands again, the smile never leaving her mouth. Okay, she was just robbed. Awesome. Oh, another one. You see a ship being tossed about in a storm-ravaged sea. The swells rise and fall, carrying the ship with him as if it were a toy. This man stands on deck at the helm of the ship while water whips around him. The crew moves around about frantically, trying to keep the chaos under control. He barks orders at them, pointing where to go and giving one each a task. The men, while still visibly distressed, seem to calm down when they are given their orders. He instructs the helmsman to resume his duties at the wheel and rushes to the aid of a crewman who is struggling with a rope attached to one of the sails. The ship crests a wave, going almost vertical in one direction and then immediately again in the other direction. Several of the crew are thrown from their feet, sliding across the deck as the ship is rocks. As the ship is rocks or hit rocks. After a swell passes and the ship returns to a relatively normal orientation, the man quickly scans the decks and, counting silently, no one has been lost this time, thankfully. He looks in the direction they're headed, seeing no reprieve from the storm in sight. His jaw squared and his upper lip stiffened. He returns to the helm and takes the wheel again. That's cool. Oh, another one. Hey. You see a flurry of matted white hair and incandescent freeze-fire staff before you see the man, cold and wild. He chews a wizened apple slowly, discharging spell after spell into the jumble of villagers shrieking their way towards him. Cold flame vents from his nose and apple seeds shoot out the side of his mouth as he saunters forward, ignoring arrows and curses alike. A deliberate twist of his staff and a bullet of force glides through the torso of one assailant and another. A roar blisters his throat as he launches himself into the midst, turning into their essence with his staff. A pleading hand reaches towards him, and he quickly falls, ignored. Silence takes hold as the tattered man gathers his prize, a basket of fresh pears. He hums as he eats. Nothing. Yep. Where should we go first? Let's see. Should we stop by the sanatorium first, or the... well, I completed Act 1 just by getting here. That's cool.
Defiance Bay, the city at the heart of the Deerwoods Revolution, now seems on the brink of another. Refugees line the streets, homeless and hungry, displaced by Whiteman's legacy, hoping for relief within the city walls, and finding none. Dissidents congregate to protest and to heckle, calling for an end to animancy and the ouster of their duke. The city's militiamen cast fearful looks as they patrol the streets, their hands trembling at the hilts of their weapons. The capital of a country that had not long ago incinerated a god now appears to be a spark away from sharing the deity's fate.
Okay. Is that it? Guess so. We'll go fast mode on this so we can just get the whole map covered here.
Those walls surround the whole city?
No one wants to talk. Someone would have footsteps. Wait. You see a man crosses his arms and sticks his chin out. Moonlight and torchlight color his face. BS. The elf standing in front of him wears a panicked expression. Are you mad? I've seen it. Aha! The first man cries, raising a triumphant finger. You said you'd only heard it. The elf blinks. What in the name of Galawain's beast does that have to do with anything? You said you'd only heard it. Now you're telling me it's a monster the size of 2 Amawa with blood-dyed fur. The man takes a step closer to the elf. Now I'm saying you're a liar, Doran. Doran sputters. Gods, Viserys, who cares what it looks like? It's a rabid wolf. You saw what it did to the sheep. The elf throws up both of his hands, shaking his head. You want to stay out here all night long to see the thing yourself? Fine, have it your way. I'm getting out of here. Fine, alright. Good. The elf storms off, casting one last glance over his shoulder as he disappears down the hill. The man sets off in the other direction, a sword in one hand and a torch in the other. Within minutes he comes to a broken paddock where a dozen sheep lie dead, their throats torn and their innards scattered across the ground. It is not the work of a normal predator. Something crunches through the dry grass. Viserys spins but sees nothing. He raises his torch higher. This time a rustling sound from behind him, near the paddock. He turns again to see a wolf. It's not nearly as large as Doran had sworn, and while its fur is matted with red around its throat and paws, the rest of the elf's description has proven to be rather a lurid exaggeration. Typical. Viserys takes some small satisfaction in this even while the wolf lunges for him, his jaws foaming and eyes rolling. Cool. You see a dimly lit room with extravagant decoration, pillows of silk brocade over cover the floor, surrounding a large velvet carpeted divan. A Man sits on a divan or whatever, his shirt untucked and only halfway buttoned. Behind him stands his elf, dressed in the same lavish finery as decorates the room. Her hips gyrate gently, dancing slowly around the man as she begins to sing. He looks up at her blearily, intoxication clouding his vision. He smiles, tunelessly humming along with her. Her words are too low to hear clearly, but as her singing grows more intense, the lights in the room seem to dim even further, and everything loses focus. She takes his face in her hands, singing directly to him, running her hands down his shoulders and arms until she is holding his hands. The man's eyes grow heavy and he quickly succumbs to sleep, slumping backward. She holds his arms, catching him as he falls, and gently lays him down across the divan. She stops singing when his hand hits the pillow, and suddenly the lights brighten back up and everything snaps back into focus. She slips her hand into his jacket, retrieving an item that she places in a small box sitting on a nearby table. She looks back at the man, shakes her head, and escapes into the night. Huh. You see a man stumble, knees bleeding, clothes torn, eyes dead. His skin is damp with sweat, but he pushes onward. His back is arched, defeated. At his side hangs a bow, strings limp from disuse. He trips through the undergrowth sightless, ignoring all but the sound of his own anguish. He comes across a deer, gut spilled across the forest floor, still steaming into the cold night air. A Stelgaer watches him from above, perched on the trunk of an enormous fallen tree. It takes the man a moment to notice his danger, and he seemed almost glad for it. The Stelgaer unravels itself from the tree, eyeing him carefully. Its distended stomach almost brushes the ground as it jumps down, and the man dives to meet it. For a moment, time seems to slow as the man and beast collide. The Stelgaer roars, swiping at him with its claws, and soon has him pinned, great yellow teeth and acrid breath ready to end his intrusion. But with a wet ripping sound, instead the agonized Stelgaer is himself gutted from neck to rump. The man exhales deeply, covered in blood, ponders, "Not today, not today." Let's see. That's probably stealing. Is it? Nope, it's not stealing. The shields have been battered and scarred in long ago battles. You see a small band of people walking down a rutted road surrounded by a thick forest. This man walks alongside them, chatting and joking like they were lifelong friends, though his appearance is one of frivolity. His jovial facade is betrayed by the occasional sideways glance into the dense tree line. There's a noise from the trees around them, the sound of someone breaking a twig. The man holds up his hand, silencing the travelers and destroying the light-hearted tone of the evening. They look around, worried, expressions on their faces gathering closer together. The man motions the group to stay where they are, and he heads into the trees. There is silence for several seconds as they all strain to hear anything, clutching one another nervously. There's another rustling, this time coming from the direction the man entered the woods. A single figure emerges from the tree line, and the group visibly relaxes as seeing him approach. The figure comes close enough for the group to see his face, and one of them lets out a cry of dismay when they realize this is not their friend. No sooner has the sound left his mouth than another group emerges from the woods, weapons drawn, surrounding the travelers. As none of them are armed or in any state to fight, they are quickly subdued, bound, and relieved of their valuables. With a laugh, the bandits disappear back into the woods, leaving their quarry on the road. Safely back inside the forest, they meet up with the man. He smiles, mocking the gullibility of people who trust a complete stranger as long as he buys them a drink. He takes his share of the spoils and leaves. Anybody? Anything? Oh, we're following this guy. I get you. I get you. Oh, tower construction complete. Awesome. That was quick. Now we gotta do the wall. I like to do the wall at least. You see a small crowd gathering near the entrance to a temple. He stands against the wall, the crowd forming a semicircle around him. He speaks with a calm, measured tone, his soothing voice carrying over the sounds of the surrounding city. He speaks of the world, history, the gods, and religion. He speaks of cooking, brewing, child raising, and old wives' tales. There does not seem to be a subject he lacks at least a passing knowledge in. People ask him questions and he answers them in turn, sometimes being detailed and in-depth, other times only giving a general answer. Regardless of what is said, all of his answers seem to hit the heart of what was asked. Each person satisfied with what they've learned. People come and go from the crowd, its size growing and shrinking, but never completely dissipating. Hours pass, he never seems to tire, sharing his knowledge with anyone who would benefit from it. As the light of day wanes, the group finally growing small enough that he draws everything to a close. As he gathers his belongings and prepares to leave, a man approaches him, asking why he does this. He asks for no money, no food, what benefit is gained from his actions. He looks at the man gathering his thoughts and then simply tells him, "Knowledge brings wisdom. That is my faith." Oh, do you have anything? Okay. You see a dark room, its contents in disarray. The blinds are pulled against the light, and the sounds of shouting and running can be heard outside. This man moves through the house, throwing items into a bag. He wraps up some food, collects some clothes, and searches through a chest for various odds and ends that resemble magical components. He stops at a bookshelf and quickly scans the spines, running his fingers along them to help keep his place. He sighs, sliding his finger across the spines again, mumbling to himself. Finally, he chooses a couple of the titles and takes them from the shelf, adding them to the assortment of items he has already gathered. A small group of squirrels and birds watch him as he passes through the rooms, moving almost as a single entity. They are trying to stay near him, but also seem to know what to stay out of his way. He is obviously in a hurry, but he maintains a deliberate demeanor about everything he does. The outer door bursts open with an explosive sound, causing the animals to scatter, terrified. A man turns, bringing a hand up, holding a book in his other, whispering something that barely can be heard. Ice crystals begin to form at the tips of his fingers, crackling against the heat of the room. He sees a man standing in the doorway and immediately drops his hands, the ice vanishing as quickly as it appeared. The man in the doorway gestures, telling him to hurry, and points toward the horizon somewhere outside. The man in the house dismisses him with a wave, saying he's almost done here and will be coming soon. He scans the building one more time, searching for something he might have missed. Satisfied, he leaves, not even bothering to close the door. Outside, he can see people all prepared as he is, traveling away from town, away from the rising plumes of smoke on the horizon. Oh, that's the typical whale I was talking about. Awesome. So you got like a knowledge god or something. I believe so. Yeah. With the eye. Have we almost got the whole town now? This is part of the town. Remember that, but yeah, I keep my mouth shut. You see a dark figure moving quickly around the room, grabbing items and placing them in a sack. The room is in wait, did we just do this? The room is in complete disarray. This elf was lying on on the floor in the middle of the room. Her breath comes in shallow, hitching gasps, and her face is wet with tears. Her head slowly tilts to the side, her attention drawn to the noise on the far side of the room. She watches the figure move about, removing all the valuables from her chest. She slowly lifts her hand from her stomach, bringing them in front of her face. Her head shakes weakly as she turns it back to look at her fingers, covered in her own blood. Her breath hitches again, and she lets out a quiet mewing sound. The dark figure stops at church and turns to look at her, hisses something at her. The figure walks back to the elf and stands over her, tilting its head as if it had completely forgotten she was there until she made the sound. He kneels next to her, stares at her unfocused eyes, and reaches out her hand to her stomach. Without a word and without breaking his gaze, he pushes two of his fingers into the gaping wound in her abdomen. Her mouth widens in a silent scream, a rictus of pain etched on her face. In a moment, her entire body goes limp as she succumbs to the pain and faints. The figure stands staring at her one final time, then spits on her before turning to leave. Well, that was gruesome. Okay, let's see what we got. We got Scrivener's Dormitory. Let's go to Hall of Revealed Mysteries first.
I'd wager there are more than a few banned books in here.
Anybody I can read? No stealing. Nope, can't steal. I don't have that good stealth right now.
Greetings.
An elderly dwarf surveys the stacks. Her skin looks as tough and as wrinkled as a walnut. Despite her stature, she manages to look down her nose at you. You're welcome to look around, but let the priests and scriveners continue their search. She shoots the nearest robed figure a withering glare. Wouldn't do to give them any other excuses. Anna, she sizes you up, stroking her chin. And I could trust you to bring it back, I suppose. She scowls at the robed priest again. You certainly couldn't do worse than this lot, anyway. Thieves made off with an ancient scroll of whale. They intend to blaspheme by selling that which should remain hidden, a secret of the 100 Visions. Her wiry eyebrows arched over her spectacles. The guards caught one of them, but were overzealous in their interrogation. All they could piece together was something about a farmhouse in the road to Deerford. Interesting. Track the thieves down. I don't care what you do with them, but bring back the scroll. Whale rewards a persistent seeker, and so do I. I am the High Archivist of the Hall of Revealed Mysteries. She coughs loudly into her fist. And I am too old and too busy to be bothered with inane questions. Her smile reveals a row of crooked teeth. That's the rub, isn't it? Whale is the god of things hidden and revealed. The more of the 100 visions one sees, the more one has yet to discover. Though we often call whale he who sees and is not seen, it is neither male nor female. To assign any definitive characteristic to whale is to miss another essential part of its divinity. A term for reverence for whale's many revelations. Despite the name, they're infinite. Each epiphany leads yet to another enigma. Very little, except that they were foolish to believe that they could steal from the god of secrets. That, and they were fleeing to a farmhouse. Sweet. Possibly this painted eye seems to move whenever you turn your back. Nobody can be read. Okay. Right? Right? Nope. Okay, whatever. I think I found that scroll in another playthrough I did. I just didn't bring it back. Zeroforge was a cipher, I think. Makes sense.
You're from Gilded Vale? Then you're close to home.
Close can mean a lot of things.
Surely you'll go back when this is all over.
Dunno. Guess that all depends.
You see a dimly lit street lined with buildings. Most of them are dark and quiet, but one at the edge of a canal is bright and noisy, defying the night. As Amawa stands in the dark, huddled against the cold of the shadows, keeping away from everything. He stares at the door of the lit building, intently studying it. There's a sign hanging on the side of the building. It is barely legible in the dark, but appears to read Goose and Fox. Movements from inside the building perks Amawa up. He pulls his cloak closer around his face and his breath speeds up, catching slightly. His excitement is palpable. The main door to the establishment opens, releasing a cacophony of laughter and shouting. Light spills out onto the street, illuminating a solitary figure in a doorway. Amawa stands, bringing his right hand up in front of his face, palm down, fingers extended. The figure exits Goose and Fox and stumbles off into the darkness, swaying slightly as it walks steadily down the street. The Amawa follows this figure, muttering a few words under his breath and gently wiggling his hand. The tips of his fingers are glowing lightly, steam rising from them against the cold air. He increases his pace, intent on catching the figure disappearing to the night. He shakes his hand once more, and the tips of his fingers burst into flame, the flickering light revealing a manic glee in his eyes. He closes on the figure, nearly hyperventilating with happiness, and whispers the name Karome. The figure jumps slightly and begins to turn as Amawa extends his hand, leveling his fingers directly at the figure. You see this man, much younger, lying on a large stone slab situated on a dais in the center of a circular room. At 7 points around the dais, older men in black robes prostrate themselves over ornate runes worked into the stone of the floor, chanting in a low drone. An 8th man enters, carrying an ebony box inlaid with gold runes that match the runes on the floor. He stands at the head of the slab, lowers his head, and slowly opens the box. He turns to each prostrate man in turn, tipping the open box in their direction as he does. He then sets a box at the head of the slab, facing away from the young man lying there. He reaches into the box, removing a small cylinder of onyx, and then moves to the end of the slab, stopping near the young man's feet. He holds the onyx up, says the words, and presses it against the young man's right foot. When it touches his flesh, the onyx softens and becomes a black leech, attaching itself to the young man's soul. The man repeats these steps until there are leeches on both hands and feet, in the middle of his chest, his neck, and his forehead. The older man then takes his place at the head of the slab, raising his hands and joining the chanting, washing the young man as his blood drains. Well, that's interesting.
Politics, infighting, greed, and a shrine to Margaret as well. Her clergy belongs there.
The stones of this ancient tower have been blackened by centuries-old fires, surrounded by a patch of wildflowers. It looks like a memorial.
This looks like the place Maywald described.
Oh, right. Yeah, that stuff. Yeah. You see solemn faces, hundreds of them. They stand in a silent remembrance, a town officially lamenting the sacrifice of some brave hero. His companions stand to the side, empty. The official tells their story, the saving of the village, the story of the one lost at the trolls in the battle as best he can, but the faces of his friends say far more about the veracity of the speech. Finally, it's over, and the villagers move back to their lives. The adventurers mill about for a time, talking, remembering, before heading back to the inn for the night. They mourn in their own ways, tears, anger, sveth, broken bottles. The leader of the group stays quiet, gaze inward. Weeks pass, and he speaks little, leaving the inn early in the morning and returning late at night, exhausted. Finally, he takes the others to see it, a statue, life-size, beautiful, in its crude design. The villagers mount it in the square as the group leaves, still empty, but a little less broken. The statue smiles at them as they leave.
All these circling feet heading nowhere.
We making? What? A TV dinner? That's cool. You see four flickering torches, the only sources of light reflecting across four tense faces. Harsh words crackle the air between them as they argue about their course, some wanting to return, some wanting to continue. Move step by careful step through the dank cave, noses pinched and eyes alert. One, a ghostly elven woman, is thrown into the air and onto the ground with a sudden snap, the victim of an unseen trap. The group is surrounded now, skeletal hands reaching out from beyond the grave at the intrusion of life in their midst. The group scrambles for their weapons, but it's too late. The skeletons are already upon them. The fallen elf cracks her eyes open. One of her companions falls, about to be impaled by an ancient spear. Adrenaline floods her system and she screams into action, moving faster than anyone just unconscious has a right to. Eyes white with fear, she conjures a wall of fire, incinerating the skeleton and providing a momentary reprieve for the party. Breathing hard, they share a glance as the passengers flutter with flickering orange and ready their weapons. This time they are ready, and the skeletons last mere minutes before falling to the ground once more. Interesting. You see a young woman standing against the backdrop of a wide, grassy plain. Her face is all silver and shadow in the moonlight, and she looks down at the wooden rafts at her feet. An older woman lies on a raft, her arms crossed over her chest and her eyes closed in death. Her face is the same dark gray as the younger woman's, and her head bears the same curving protuberances but that is where the resemblance ends. The younger woman takes a pendant from the older woman's neck and ties it around her own. The platinum medallion shows a crescent moon engulfed by a curling wave, a symbol of the goddess Andra. The young woman pushes the raft from the grassy beach and into the tide. She stands in the surf and watches it disappear, a silver tear running down her cheek. Interesting. You see a body on a bench, a team of mages and healers buzzing around the room shouting instructions and incantations. A pulsating crystalline device lies in the body's chest cavity, steaming slightly in the magically cooled room. The healer stitches the skin as the priest murmurs healing charms. Finally, it is done. The body is again whole. Mages gather for a final enchantment as the others watch, a complicated ritual that has them sweating rivulets. A hush falls over the room as the body shudders, electricity arcing from side to side, eyes fluttering open. For a moment he's there, but something is wrong. He goes to scream and he's gone. The room is silent as they trail out, overcome, but something stays, not quite tangible, and shouts wordlessly as it sees its own body for the first time. That's interesting. The quest over there. You see a man probing at a lock, hunting for the click-click of success. It takes him more than a moment, but there it is. Click. He turns the needle further. Click. A smidge more. Click. He smiles, is all smug self-assurance as he pushes into the well-fortified building. He shivers as he steps over the threshold, pupils contracting briefly as the door swings shut. Of its own accord behind him. Click, click, click. Locked. He moves through the silent building with no subtlety to his search. He pockets nothing, despite the slack-jawed ache in his face as he passes over jewelry and potions alike. Nobody stops him as he slinks from room to room. He is alone, uninterrupted in his search. Finally, in a dingy, dust-encrusted room, he finds a trapdoor carelessly hidden behind a framed carpet. The lock is rusted, old, and crude, and breaks with ease as he takes his sword hilt to it. He whistles through his teeth at the collection before him, hammers of Adra, obsidian blades, dragon scale armor. He places his sword with an enormous symbol blade of black and takes as much else as he can carry. Dropping the trap back door at him, he hears a wailing, piercing screech. Panicking, he tries to run, but his collection is too heavy. He curses, dropping all but his sword, and scales to a bookcase or a barred window. He smashes the glass on bars, shouting in the distance renews his desperation, and with a great clang of the bars fall from the window, he squeezes through the opening, every inch of exposed skin cut with glass, and runs, the obsidian blade on his back glowing gently in the dark night. That's interesting. You see a man lying on a mat, restless in sleep. He tosses about, unable to claim total peace. Behind his lids, his eyes dart about, and small moans of distress escape his lips. He rolls around, moving from lying on his back to his side to his back again, sweat standing out on his forehead. The door to his chamber slowly opens, the weak light from the hall outside falling across the sleeping man's face. This man, much younger than he is now, steps lithely into the room. His feet rise and fall as he crosses the floor with calculated precision, never once making a sound. He approaches the man on the mat, slowly raising two daggers as he does. He stands over the man, staring down at him, intense hatred burning behind his rocky features. He doesn't move, a statue poised to strike at the man's bedside. The man's eyes fly open, blinking in confusion, trying to drive sleep from his mind. He sees the boy standing over him, daggers at the ready, and a blinking stops. Terror replaces the confusion. He only has time for to say one word, "You," before the boy is on him. He drops, pinning a knee on the man's neck, and plunges one of the daggers into his stomach. The boy leans over, tilting his head back to reveal a large black scar that cuts across his neck from the right side of his jawline to his left collarbone. The man gurgles and makes a muffled, coughing sound, trying to speak through his crushed windpipe. The boy looks at him again, locking eyes and holding his gaze. The man slowly slips away. He then lifts both daggers and brings them down into the man's eyes. Well, that was also kind of gruesome.
God's damn that son of a crew.
The angry woman clenches her jaw and stares out towards the harbor with glimmering golden eyes. Eventually, sensing your presence, she turns her feathered head towards you.
Want to run it down on its luck, Valiant Trading Company? If you have more than half a brain, you could really do something with it.
She clenches her jaw and continues quietly.
As long as you're willing to clean up a few bloodstains. Exactly. If I knew that, I'd be in a better mood. The only thing I know exactly is that Mestre Verzano is determined to wind up in a grave before the season turns.
The woman looks back at the warehouse for a moment, grimaces. After a slight nod in your direction, she storms off. Okay. We'll do that quest later, I guess. You know, it is an interesting quest. Where she's a paladin, I think. Surrounded by scattered planks, it isn't clear whether this skiff has been half-built and abandoned or cannibalized for lumber. Oh, this is fun. I should have saved. But it's okay. Oh, and there's more. Wait, there's more! We're gonna get rid of the blight first, probably. Okay, this is all you do. I doubt this would do anything to... Immune? Oh, that stinks. So that stinks. I want to heal yourself a little bit.
No good.
Probably something.
That's the damn mess.
Our barbarian is on her own. That stinks. Can't see here. See if we can get it. See if we can get it back up. We're not relying on immune stuff too much here. Really? Too late for the heal. That was pretty good. That's decent. But, you know, Moonkin Barbarian is almost gone, and that's not cool. She held her own.
Good day to you.
The man behind the bar is nearly the size of an Omawa. A handle protrudes from his back, and his face is set in a stoic frown. He gives you a small nod. Here for a drink? There's a tiny pewter cup in front of him. He turns it in one broad hand, but doesn't drink from it. Name is Bishop, used to be a scholar of Bereth. Now I run the Goose and Fox and keep the regulars in line. He shifts and you see a warhammer strapped to his back. What more is there to tell? The journey isn't as long as you think. It started with Hollowborn, and with this, he takes a black bottle from under the bar and fills it with the pewter cup. He was my sister's son. He takes a drink. At the beginning of the Wademan's legacy, he was one of the first. I never expected there would be so many after him. Tragedy is part of the cycle, but it's followed by rebirth. Yet every year more parents were grieving for their Hollowborn children, and the gods were silent. He leans forward, crossing his arms in a bar. Bereth promises rebirth cycles, but the only cycle I found was this one. He taps the bar. Have a drink, have another, and another until I couldn't remember how I got home. Wake up, come back. I finally woke up one day to see my family had packed up and left. For all I know, they left days before, and I just hadn't noticed, but they were gone, so I came here. I've cleaned up since then, not that I found my answers. He tossed the cup back. I've just stopped asking questions. What sucks? The common room is still 25. That's not horrible. I'll take it.
Welcome.
Max, okay, I can get rid of that. It's cool, isn't it? Nice. That's cool. No. Nope. 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 That's not too bad, but no. My throat's getting dry. I think this is a good place to call it for right now. Appreciate you watching. Thank you.